The Aftershock.
So every Thursday on this show, traditionally, we take you through the aftershock, the biggest stories that are rocking the crypto world at the time. And this week, because there is not going to be a Thursday show, we decided to bring you the aftershock early. So we are talking first about Jack Dorsey's post Twitter opinions that have now landed him on Santa's naughty list. Leaning into our crypto theme. So as you can tell here, we have local wizard in the garbage can, Jack Dorsey, deciding to come out and go full Bitcoin maxi. What does that mean? Of course, a Bitcoin maximalist is somebody who is strictly on the side of Bitcoin. They don't believe necessarily in Web3 and all the other concepts that we talk about here in the metaverse and in crypto. So, what did Jack actually say? Well, the first thing that he went out and said was not actually what you see in the tweet, but it emphasizes the basic sentiment behind it. In a recent interview that came out, I believe yesterday, he went on record and said that he personally believes that Bitcoin will replace the US dollar. Now, normally I would tell you, okay, that's basic maxi talk, but there's a bigger question we need to answer here, Rich. It's, is this a top signal? Because if you don't recall, back in 2017, one of the top signals was a lot of these celebrities deciding to share their opinions as to whether or not they think that crypto's here to stay. And Cardi B, of all people, decided to sound off an agreement. So she tweeted, "Do you think crypto is going to replace the dollar?" And then, of course, Jack had to respond back, "Yes, Bitcoin will." And then Samson Mao decided to start mocking Jack. But what do you make of this? Is this a top signal, or is this valid? Like, is this part of the future for crypto?
So I'm going to say yes to both, right? So as we look at Bitcoin and the future of Bitcoin, could it eventually take over the US dollar? I think there's a chance. Does it happen anytime soon? I do not believe so. I think that uh, the US will go kicking and screaming before that moment happens. But all the same, is there a path to the US dollar being replaced by Bitcoin in the future? Yes. So as of just a blanketed statement, I don't think he's too far off. Now, going to the topic of Cardi B, I think it's a very, innocent question of, is crypto going to replace the dollar, which I don't believe, she's super into crypto or anything like that, but asking a pretty general question. And every time you start to see a lot of these celebrities jump on the crypto bandwagon, pretty tall tale sign of the top is coming. Now, whether that is in the next couple days, next couple weeks, next couple months, who knows? But I think that we could be near a top, and it's things like this, these kind of new segments that come along that kind of point to it.
I happen to agree with you on that. I think that until Cardi B is starting to replace, song titles like WAP with Wag Me, that's when we need to start worrying, right? For right now, I'm not worried about Cardi B, but at the same time, I think that Jack's a little bit like off here. I think that it's way over ambitious, and like especially because of what he says about Web3 not being existent, or being at least not what the internet wants you to believe that it is. It's a little bit hypocritical, because to think that Bitcoin is going to replace the US dollar as our currency in the United States in the near future, it's just as outlandish as saying that um, the opposite is, actually happening with Web3. So my bigger point here is that I could see it happening as like the Federal Reserve currency situation globally, but I still see that on a timeline of like 10 to 20 years. It's not going to, like, we need to first see the US dollar completely fall out of favor. And if we keep printing money, that's going to be the case, right? If it inflates to the point where it's no longer viable on a global um, spectrum, like, we're toast. That's when you could see the transition to Bitcoin. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, man. Um, it's a longer for that kind of flip to happen. I do think it's in the next 10 to 20 years as well. I also believe that you would it's going to be from outside pressure, right? Like you said, it'd probably be the digital reserve currency of the world or leaning towards that before we see that kind of flip occur. But I also think there's a lot of hurdles Bitcoin has to overcome before we even get to that point as well. We have a whole lot of market cap we got to go capture. I think it's going to happen. Again, it's just going to take years and years and years to develop, but again, time will tell.
Yep, I would have to be right there with you. But as I said, Jack not only went on his little Bitcoin maxi tirade, he also went on to join local insane clown posse member Elon Musk in talking smack on Web3. So, what did they end up going into? Well, Times Person of the Year decided that he wanted to lend his opinion on what he thinks the future looks like by saying, I'm not suggesting that Web3 is real. It seems more like a marketing buzzword than reality right now. He then also went on to say later today in a joke tweet, like he normally does, has anybody seen Web3? I can't find it. Now, why do we need to be bringing this up? To me, it's really, really simple. You have people out there that believe this type of stuff, that it's not real. And we are here as crypto educators to tell you that there is truth to Web3. It is not smoke and mirrors, it's not a lie. However, what Jack lended to the discussion is you don't own Web3. The VCs and their LPs do. It will never escape their incentives. It's ultimately a centralized entity with a different label. You know what you're getting into. In this, Jack isn't entirely wrong. But until people decide to get into Web3 and start utilizing what it brings, Jack's absolutely right, because the VCs will centralize everything around crypto as we see it today unless people start utilizing it on the broader scale. What do you think about all of this?
So Elon is going to do what Elon does, and he's going to stir the pot, right? Um, but I think, you know, to look in between the lines here with this, I think this might even be like an indication that like he himself and what the company does could be making a play in that direction in the future. Now, how did I get there? If you go look historically at Elon Musk and the tweets he makes back when Tesla was just coming off the racks and was starting to be built up and was having all this price action and people thought this dude was insane, and now of course Tesla is one of the most profitable companies in the world, especially people who got in early. He would go and do stuff like this where he would go and stir the pot, and he would stir pot in things that he secretly was working on in the background. I think there's a reason why Tesla was one of the first major corporations to take on Bitcoin, and then went back and said, went back against it and said, actually, we're not going to do this anymore because of it being green, etc. But again, this dude thinks in layers. He thinks way ahead, way in the future about a lot of this stuff. So even though he's stirring the pot on this, I think he knows that he can bring attention to things, and I think he's really trying to help. I don't know about help. He is trying to bring attention to Web3 and basically challenge the construct of what Web3 is supposed to be. Because it's just like you said, and what Jack was saying in his tweet is that all these people from Web2, Meta and all these other larger companies that are coming in are going to come and try to put in guardrails across Web3. Instead of it being decentralized, try to make it centralized. And to try to help circumvent that, you bring attention to it. You try to bring shine a spotlight on it and understand, hey, what's going on here? So again, is he trolling? Yes, but it also is like he, in his own secret way, potentially trying to shed light on something that could become a bigger issue if not addressed. I think so too.
Yeah, look, I'm not totally sold on that. I got to just play the contrarian with you for a second. I think that Elon probably is not as much on the side of crypto as he is on the side of making money, right? That's the thing that Elon's about first and foremost. And
Yep.
why? Because he needs to fund his mission to Mars. Pretty much a no-brainer there, right? So
Yep.
as he's looking at right now allowing people to start buying Tesla merch with Dogecoin, he's more concerned about the currency side. I think that if anything is going to happen with Tesla in the crypto world, it's going to be green Bitcoin mining. That's the only thing that I see happening over there. But for right now, I would love to see more of like the crypto community that is gaining notoriety to step out and actually combat this, because it's been about an entire news cycle since all this started coming up. And I haven't heard a lot of people actually speaking out against it and trying to prove that Web3 is actually here. So that to me is my final word on it. But we want to roll things ahead right now and get right into the CC Live Awards, which is again our big recap on the year.